coming round. This is very exciting. Is this what popping is? Are we popping in? God, I can tell we're not in London anymore. Anyway, welcome. Can I get you a tea? Tea, coffee, tea? Okay, Yorkshire. Yeah, Yorkshire Gold. I knew it. This one's for you. I'm afraid we only have oat milk because we don't suckle on the teats of cows here. No, no, no. So I hope you enjoy that. You've been asking a while to come round, and I'm glad that you have. As you might know, we've been living in this 18th century cottage for the last 4 months. And by the time that you'll see this video, we'll actually have moved again. I'm on the road again. Can't wait to be on the road again. But I wanted to show you around first. If you're interested in why we left London for this 18th century little cottage, I'm going to chat a little bit about that at the end and answer any little questions you might have, any nosy things. But this is always just a nosy video, so I thought I'd give you the meat that you came here for, which is looking around the house. So this cottage was built in about 1790. We're actually in Derby at the moment, which is one of the first places that started the Industrial Revolution. We'll talk about that later if you're interested. But anyway, this is the kitchen. This is where I do all of my domestic goddess tasks, which is mainly just heat up cans of chickpeas. It's a nice place to be. It's very airy. Over here, we've got my little shop of horrors. None of them have bit me yet, but I think that the night is still young and I'm hoping for some action. There's not really much else to say about this kitchen. It's really nice. We've got a fridge, as most people do. These are some of the places that we've been. Iceland, Striding Edge, all very exciting. What else can I show you in here while we're in here? So this is a spice rack. I don't know what any of these spices do, but we're not telling Craig because then he'll make me get rid of them, and I like the way they look. Over here we've made a makeshift kind of shoe hole. I don't think it's a stand, it's more of a hole, it's just made out of cardboard. But you'll see a lot of stuff like that around the house because we didn't bring all of the stuff that we own here and we knew we weren't going to be here for long. We've made do with a few different things. So it's not going to be very fancy, but I've really enjoyed living here and it's very cozy. As you can see here, this is actually the original outside of the house. We're standing in the kitchen extension right now. So that is what would have been the outside of the house. But first we're going to show you what I like to call the pantry because it makes me feel posh. It's probably just the washroom, but here we go. Okay, in here, lights please. We have a washing machine. Incredible, I know. You're on the bottom of your seats, on the side of your seats, edge of your seats. So in here we have a myriad of fascinating artifacts like this washing machine we got for 50 quid from eBay. Very exciting. Probably going to keep it until I die because it actually looks like really fancy. In here we've just got a collection of random things in the cupboards, you know, stocks for the zombie apocalypse, a few generators, some toilet roll in case things get ugly in the toilet. We like to keep a little bit on hand. This is my mess box that you might remember from a video where I cleared everything out. Well, it got bad again, guys, but it's fine. These are just loads of bits of paper that may or may not determine my future. We'll sort through them later, am I right? There's not really much else to show you in here. Dehumidifier. But we're gonna transition into the bathroom. Do you want to go first? Go on, have a little look. Now, as you can tell by these kind of tours, I don't really understand what's interesting about them, but I will show you some stuff. And if that excites you, go you. This is our shower. It's where I occasionally exfoliate my body and then wash my dead skin into the plug hole, like most other humans, I guess. This is the toilet. I won't detail the myriad of adventures I've had there, but that's where I do that. This is our sink. It's got some, you know, some random stuff in here, some toothpaste, some toothbrushes. Alien, I know. And then at the top, all the different ways that I'm trying to embalm myself so that I can live forever and transcend this mouldy human body. Up here we've got some refillable shampoo. Save the planet. Some more shampoo bars down here. This is where we dry our towels. And you might recognise this shower curtain from our last flat because it's my favourite shower curtain and I'm going to keep it forever. This is my smelly gym kit from when I went for a jog this morning. 1.9 kilometres, come on. And let's go through to the more interesting part of the house, if we can call it that. So we're coming back through the kitchen. Oh, I didn't show you down here. I've got my rollerblades, roller skates even, and Craig's roller skateboard. I know the words. And this is my helmet to keep my big brain very safe from my very clumsy body. So now we're going into like the real 1790s living room. So in here, what do we have? The fireplace is obviously the main feature of this room. It's really lovely and airy in here. It's really probably the favourite room in the house. This is actually a gas stove. It keeps me very toasty. And I really just love putting my feet up and reading in front of this because it makes me feel bougie as fuck. Above it, I precariously keep my books. Maybe a little bit, if you love books, don't keep them above a fire, but I like to play with fate. So these are some of the books that we have with us. It's not very many, obviously most of my collection's in storage right now, but these are the ones that I was either just currently reading, wanted to read immediately, or just need to have near me at all times, because I'm weird like that. Book emergencies need to be prepared for. What else do we have in this room? We've got these armchairs that we got from IKEA a long time ago. I call them our Up chairs because they remind me of the two armchairs from Up, which maybe is a little bit dark. And then down here, we've got another example of like a makeshift bit of furniture. This is just a red moving Tupperware box that I covered with a piece of fabric because I know that we're moving again. I don't want to buy any furniture. This is where I keep my Horrible Histories box set because I'm incredibly cool. And yeah, there's not really much to see up here apart from this. Oh yeah, this is our mask basket. That COVID life. Where we keep all our clean masks. And some nice coat storage in this corner. I like this storage solution. Very nice. Touch it, touch it. Okay, so now we're going up to the first floor. There's 3 floors to this cottage. And as you can see, there's really lovely beams on the ceiling. I don't know if you can see those. But they're throughout the whole house. And they're my favourite. They're not Craig's favourite because he is 6'4". But thankfully, my genetics seem to have not grown any taller since the 1700s. So I find this cottage a perfect size for me. Okay, up the first flight of stairs. Here we go. Some exposed brick. Not a lot to see here, but again, very cosy. More wood floors on this level. And let's first go through to my office. I've never had an office before. It makes me feel very fancy. And this is where the magic happens. So here we are. Here is my office. Let's start at the desk area maybe. So this is the desk. I've got my cozy little lamp here. It's where I have some of my ideas. I've got my Bechdel hat. We've got some more books. That's where I write my stuff. We've got, probably should have tied these up a little bit. My camera bag. This is Mavis. Thank you to Jer for buying her for me. We were always meant to be together, and now if we go back into lockdown, I'm going to learn to be a ventriloquist so I can give her the true voice she deserves. So I'm really excited for that career pivot. So camera equipment's down here. This is where I keep all my makeup. This is where I keep all my sewing gear. And then over here, we've got my big light. I don't know the technical terms, but it goes on, it's a light. My ring light down there, some more stands. And then this is my trusty tripod. Not a lot to see here. A nice view out of the window onto other cottages. I really like this Narnia lamp out there. I've been watching out for Mr. Tumnus, but he never visits. But yeah, I really like the view out of this window. And then the pièce de résistance. Would you like to turn around to look at the wardrobe? I have never had so much clothes storage space, and I've taken full advantage. So this is where I keep all my clothes, and it's really probably one of the biggest passions in my life. So nothing more to apologise for there. It's just a really nice place. And I've never been able to hang up all my clothes as well, which is really satisfying. I'm able to see them all in their glory and live my best life. Alternatively, in an alternate universe, above my wardrobe is Craig's wardrobe. And I think it takes all sorts to make a world. That's the takeaway here. And I also think that our differences make us stronger. So that's all of the clothes that Craig owns, because he is both practically and morally superior. Where are we going next? Should we go up the stairs? Let's go. So up here, we're going into the bedroom. But before we get there, you can see we've got these really lovely little shelves. The kind of, again, like, because you're renting and because we're not here for a very long time, I just wanted to have something that gave it like a little bit of character. So these are some pictures that a tarot company sent me. I'll link them below. A fan, and my greatest achievement to date. Some people have weddings, some people have babies. I just have this to show for myself. And it's very aptly a mirror, which I thought was a little bit of a dig from the YouTube overlords, because it is really all about me. Anyway, so that's my 100,000 subscriber plaque. Very self-indulgent. And let's go up these lovely stairs. So something that's interesting about the bedroom is that it doesn't have a door, which means that like this probably wouldn't be the best for like a cohabiting space for loads of people, but it really works for us. So yeah, I've got this lovely little balcony when you come up here. I like the fact that I can like call down to Craig and demand coffee from up here, and he can hear me down in the living room. And yeah, this is actually where Craig works most of the day, so we can work in separate spaces, which again, for most of lockdown, we were working in within about 3 feet of each other, which is very interesting when we had to do Zoom calls. So this is a great improvement and very exciting. Craig's got the same desk and chair as me. Obviously, again, a little bit more minimal. He's reading Submarine, and I think he'll be okay for me talking for him and saying he highly recommends it. I often put these kind of like socks on the top of furniture so that it doesn't mark the walls. Again, a good renting tip. And very aesthetic, cottagecore, no? And then over here is our bed. This is where we do the sleeping. That's all that happens here. And then sometimes the reading. So I have a massive stack of books down here for when the existential dread hits at 1 a.m. As you can hear, there's lots of birds around, which is also really nice. And again, a really nice view out of the window so I can spy on the neighbours. Now, I haven't been visited by ghosts yet. And if you're listening, I don't want to see you. I am a little bit scared of ghosts, which is one of the challenges of living in this cottage. But so far, it has a really good vibe about it. And I'm almost convinced that there are no evil spirits here. So yeah, we were kind of like iffing and erring about bringing a bed frame with us, but then we just decided that we had a good mattress and it was probably fine. So we've been sleeping on the floor, and I don't know if I even want to go back. I quite like just sleeping on this. The only reason I see for having a bed frame is so that you can store stuff underneath it. But as you can see, we don't really own that much stuff at the moment, so it's kind of fine. This is where Craig keeps his camera equipment, bungee roped up for extra security. And then these nice little light fixtures, I really like those as well. They remind me of flames. And then there's also this really lovely blossom tree out of this window that you can see in the mornings, which is really nice. It was really like atmospheric when it was snowing as well. I felt like I was in the holiday. So yeah.
Look at that bin truck.
Oh,
So
finally
atmospheric.
the bin men are coming. Finally. So yeah, this is where Craig keeps his, I'm running out of things. This is where Craig keeps his elfin slippers. And obviously the most important renter's accessory, a fire extinguisher. If you want to know more about that, there's a video all about renting up there. So yeah, that is going to be the end of the tour part of this video. We're now going to have a little sit down and talk about why I left London, if I'll be going back, what is going on. So, why did we leave London? Lena, I thought you loved London. Why would you leave London? I know. It broke my heart a little bit as well. Definitely when we were driving down the motorway, we were both like, maybe you'll come back. We don't know. Obviously, the Panny D threw a lot of things up in the air for a lot of people. At the beginning of 2020, I was still working 2 days in a London-based office, and my partner Craig was working full-time in a London-based office. Since then, I've transitioned to going fully, I was going to say freewheeling, which is probably more accurate. Freelance, freewheeling, job nuddy. But also Craig was working in the charity sector, and as you might know, the charity sector really struggled in the last year and a half. So that meant that our income was pretty shaky, and the charity that Craig was working for actually did end up folding. So we really wanted to make sure our baseline of expenses was lower than it had been before. And like most people in London, our biggest overhead was rent. So we put all of our belongings in a handkerchief on a stick, threw it over our shoulder, and by that I mean 3 carloads worth of random shit, and came back to where I'm from, which is the Midlands. For those of you not from the UK, it's around here. We've been really lucky to be able to rent this cottage for a fraction of the price of our pretty small flat in London. I'm actually choking at that footage of how small that space was compared to the joy of space we have here, and I actually couldn't be happier with the decision. We're currently in a city called Derby, and these cottages are actually weavers' cottages. Let me take you on a little B-roll walk of my usual walk from this cottage to the river. So we live really near this beautiful river, and on the other side of the river is a huge old mill. The history of this mill is really interesting. Like, obviously in the Midlands there were lots of kind of, I want to say like the blooms of the Industrial Revolution, but I kind of also just mean like the very depressing beginning of the end of capitalism, touch wood. And this is one of the first cottages that were built to house weavers. The mill is no longer a mill, it's actually a wedding venue, and the stables and like outhouses that fed the mill are all turned into pubs. Premium pub benches on the side of the river. So it's been a really perfect place to hunker down while London is closed. However, this place is actually being turned into a proper Airbnb. It's going to be really beautiful. The owners are going to do it over, and it's going to be all of the chef's kisses. So if you want to follow their Instagram, it's weaver.cottage, and you can see the transformation and possibly one day even come and stay here, which would be really cool. We're going to stay in the Midlands for now. We're both now permanently working remotely, so it just makes sense, but we are going to move a little bit closer to London, and we're going to move back to the West Midlands. So I've been in the East Midlands. We're going back to the West Midlands, which is where I'm from, and we're about to move into a flat there. We're definitely going to be there for about 6 months, but after that, who knows? We're taking pictures in the comments for places that we should visit or potentially even live in the UK, because we literally have no idea. If you have any suggestions or you want to rave about your own hometown, leave it down there, because I'd be fascinated to know. As a fan of London, a big fangirl of the Big Smoke, I am really interested to see the future of London as it goes forward. As I said, 700,000 people have left London, and I'd be really interested to see if any of those people return. It is a very inaccessible city for a lot of people, and while it is really wonderful and I miss it so much, I'm not even sure if I'll be going back. But I think it's a challenge now that people can work from more remotely, whether employers will let them continue to work remotely, and also whether those cities will have to be more hospitable for a wider number of people financially if those cities are going to survive. So it's all really fascinating to me. I'd love to chat to you about it in the comments. If there's cities near you that have had like mass exoduses, if you've left a city for any reason, because I think it's going to be a really interesting thing going forward. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you are renting like me, I have a really fun renting video here if you'd like to watch it. I have a 20s toolkit series here if you're in your 20s and you want some tips. If you want to follow the future of this cottage, don't forget to follow that handle. And if you're interested in watching me muddle through my life in future, the subscribe button is up there. Thank you so much for watching. Frog Snog out.